Praise the Lord. Amen. My text is a singular phrase out of a verse, Romans 8:26. Just want a piece of that verse, a phrase. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought. We don't know what to pray about as we should. That's all I want. And to emphasize that we really do not know how to pray or what to pray in a given context. Hence, our prayers have been failing. The subject is praying in the context of life. If you don't know what to pray when you are in a given situation, that prayer will miss. It will fail. You will be frustrated. And you will wonder, where is God and why He's not hearing my prayer? Follow me. It's not as simple as you think. Prayer is a very well talked about subject, but very little practice. And so that, in my opinion, as in the disciples' opinion and in the church, early church opinion, prayer is the singular force that drives the church and make better Christians. If you don't pray, prepare to fail. The Christian who will not pray as he ought to will fail in every aspect of life. Even, and I will show you next week, even people who pray fail. I consider myself a very praying person, a very prayerful person. And most of the mistakes I made were done in prayer. That I'll talk to you about next week, God willing. But today, I want to use the life of Christ and show you 5 stages where his prayer changed according to the context of his life. And that the Our Father prayer is good, but it doesn't work in some situations. You have to create in prayer based on your need of the moment and touch God and touch heaven so that your prayer can be answered. Praying in the context of life is my subject, and the theme is why good prayer fails. I want to run a parallel between a child growing up into manhood and a Christian from being born again coming up into maturity. Let's run this parallel quickly. This first 5 words I'm going to be using: informing prayer, conforming prayer, reforming prayer, transforming prayer, and non-performing prayer. Those are just the categories. And so that we will look at each one in the life of Christ and see how your prayer have to work in the context of your given situation. And that you will discover soon why you have not been growing, why your prayers have not been answered, and you have been praying. Now let me clearly say that when this text I read, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought. We don't know what we should pray for as we ought to pray. It's an accusation against our ignorance. But the Spirit will help. That's something else. Dennis the Menace, in his cartoon, is seen kneeling before the cross. And in his own stubborn, cartoon-like manner, he sulks and he says to God like this: God, I'm here to turn myself in. It's the best prayer you could ever pray. There is a warrant out for your prayerful arrest. And not until you stand before the cross and turn yourself into the mercy of God, you will have no peace. You will know no permanent success. Your temporary successes will fail. As soon as they rise up, there is an eater that comes and grab it away. You will know nothing of New Testament Christianity. Let's go on to praying in the context of life. Why good prayer fails. The right line for the right time is very important. Now, I am not saying that you do not pray. This verse is not saying you do not know how to pray. This verse is not saying that you cannot pray. This verse is not saying that your prayers are not answered because there is sin in your life. No such thing. It's simply saying you do not know what to pray, when to pray it. And that's crucial to the success of your entire Christian life. As a child is born and grows up into maturity, so a Christian is born again and grows up. And quickly, let me just make the parallel of a human life and your spiritual life. There is spiritual infancy. This corresponds to asking. A child always asks. Maybe the parent before the child is 5 years is tired of that child asking for the same thing, asking over and over. It's a period where you manifest immaturity and spiritual infancy because all you do is ask, and all you ask for are things. The sign of immaturity is to continuously ask God for things, not to ask God for his presence and fellowship. That's another level. You ask for things. Give me this, give me that. Lord, I need this. Lord, I need that. Nothing is wrong with that, Jesus. Ask us to ask. He said, if you ask your father for a bread, he will not give you a stone. There's nothing wrong in asking. But if you remain at that level, all you will be doing for the rest of your life is becoming a beggar from the throne of God. You will only asking for things, and mainly they are material things. And you need to come out from that spiritual infancy and move up to a spiritual teenager. Now, when you move out of spiritual infancy and become a teenager, you don't ask anymore. You seek. You're looking for every opportunity to shine. You're looking for every place to hang out. You are a seeker. You want to know more. You are investigating life. You are curious about the opposite sex. You want to know everything that you think you've been deprived of. And so the teenage years is a period of constantly seeking and searching. And so in your spiritual walk, you move up from asking to seeking God. You want to know his will. You want to know his purpose for you. You want to know what to do. You begin to seek. And so you move on from spiritual teenage life to spiritual young adult. When you become 20, 21, 20, you begin to knock. You knock on doors. You look for opportunities. You take yourself higher. You move out of the teenage playful life. You get serious now. You are knocking. And it corresponds to the ask acronym. Ask, seek, and knock. This just merely defines you up to about 21 years of spiritual Christianity. After that, you come into maturity, where you perfect your faith and you begin to seek and hunger for the fellowship of the Father and the Son. As 1 John says, 1:3, we know the fellowship, we seek the fellowship of the Father and the Son. That's all you want then. You're no longer interested in things because you have everything, except the one thing that you want. Abraham had everything except the one thing that eluded him for 25 years. He had to wait for it. A son. Jacob had everything except he missed Joseph for 13 years. Sometime your life will have everything you need except the one thing you want. And God will hold it back from you until he brings you to this level of communion and fellowship with him. Then you come to the 5th level of prayer, which is the greatest level, which is the most interesting level, which is only spiritually mature people. It's spiritual advocacy. It's intercessory prayer. And when we come there, we will see how important that is, and that you really can't do it. You think you can do it. You think you pray for people right now. I will show you, you're really not qualified. You do what is called performing prayer. Performing prayer, dutiful prayer. Follow with me as we look into the life of Christ for 5 areas, 5 stages where the prayers are different. And you can't use one prayer in another context. It will not work. And discover why your prayer life is like mine was, a miserable failure. Because for 2-3 years I didn't get answers to prayer, and I wondered why. I'm praying for everybody. Those prayers are answered, but for me, no answer. I became confused. Wanted to check my life, make sure it's clean. Why are my best prayers not answered? Why, Lord? And he wouldn't say anything. And the time I needed God to speak the most, he was the most silent. And I could hear nothing for years. I'll give you the answer why. Let's go with the first as we look for the pattern in the life of Christ. In Luke 11, the disciples saw Jesus coming off his knees. And the first thing they said, Lord, teach us to pray. It's a pictorial word, teach, involves 5 lessons, 5 things. When you enroll in the school of prayer, you have Christ for your teacher. You are the student. He will use life and circumstances as lessons to teach you more about prayer. That's why your life is so filled with opportunities for God to demonstrate his power, because you have asked him to teach you to pray. The only time you pray is when you have a problem, and that's why he sends you so many problems, to teach you how to pray. A problem-free life never prays. Prosperity doesn't pray. Prosperity rejoices and is happy and glad, but cannot pray. That's why you are enrolled in the school, and he will give you tough lessons that will teach you to pray, make you and graduate you from the school of prayer. And so it's a pictorial word. There is a student, a teacher, a classroom, a lesson, and the education of faith. You will find that out to be true. Let's move on to the second. That's informing prayer, where you tell God what you need. You inform him. You have to. Paul says, let your request be made known. You have to make it known. You have to tell him. You have to communicate. Not that he doesn't know. He wants to hear your voice. He wants you involved in the relationship and in the partnership. Or else he knows everybody's need. And that's why you have to pray. Get down to some serious stuff. The prayers of blood, sweat, and tears. We're going to get serious now. You see, everything before Gethsemane is child play. Is Lord, teach me to pray. It's the Our Father pray he will teach you. The goodness of God, the reign of God in the kingdom. He's Lord. Deliver us from evil. Yes, there are great things, but not when you come in Gethsemane and afterwards. The prayer changes. Before Gethsemane, you ask for things. In Gethsemane, you transact the biggest business of your soul. You don't pray, Our Father, here. Oh, God, you are so good. I thank you for mercies. No. The prayer you're going to pray is intense. You stand alone, and it's painful. You will weep, and you'll cry, and you will shout and call. It's honest, but it's submitted. It cries for the perfect will of God to be done. It's no longer about things. It's about a relationship. It's here to turn in yourself and submit to the perfect will of God. Yeah, where the future successes and everything from here on depends on what you do in Gethsemane. Many people have never been to Gethsemane. They have been floating from the baptism in Jordan, watching the devils fly, walking in water, multiplying bread, watching healing take place. All that is ministry prayer, but they have never come to Gethsemane to settle the question of whose will be done in your life. This is where it gets serious. This is where it will demand blood from you. Here and here alone, you decide all of your tomorrows. Once you have settled things here, there is no turning back. I want you to understand this. We gleefully sing, I surrender all. We happily come to the altar in absolute surrender, not knowing what we have done. You say, Lord, have your way in my life. I want to be like Jesus. You know not what you ask for. Because God's going to take you seriously in Gethsemane. And when he begins to work the cross into your life, you will want to run, but you will never get away from it. Because God's going to take you seriously in Gethsemane. It's no place to play. You will be tied literally to the horns of the altar. You will have to stay the course. And this is where I missed. Because no kind of praying will change God's mind after you walk out of Gethsemane. From Gethsemane to Calvary, however long that takes, 1 year, 5 years, that walk, you will never hear God. You won't. Because what you're going to see, not hear, is God applying the principles of Calvary and Gethsemane into your life. And that's where it gets confusing. Because you're praying and you're hearing nothing. There are no miracles for you, only suffering. Because you've just said, I surrender all. You just said, Lord, not my will, but thy will be done. Oh, God, I wish you understand what you said. I wish you know what you are doing. Do not ever flippantly say, I surrender all. God's going to take you up at it. And when you have surrendered, he's going to tie you down with a situation from which you cannot move. He'll bind you with cords that cannot be broken. You will twist and turn. You will want to run away. But you can't. There is no place to run. Because he'll put a cross on your shoulder. He'll take away your friends. He will leave you alone. You'll be mocked and scoffed, spat upon, ill-treated, mistreated, slandered, rumored, falsely accused. But you got to go on. You want to get out of the race. It gets so hot. You're fed up with church, with people, with things. You want to quit. You want to hide. But there is no place to hide. Like David, give me the wings of a dove that I might fly away. You want to run. You want to escape. But you've signed on the dotted line with blood, sweat. Luke 22, as he came out and went, as he was accustomed to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples also followed him. Oh yeah, it's easy to follow. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, pray that ye enter not into temptation. And he was drawn from them about 300 feet, a stone cast. He knelt down and prayed, saying, Father, if you be willing. He's pulling some psychology on God here now. Really. Because he knew why he came. His mission was settled before the foundation of the world. The Father had already spoken to him. He knew it was a body they prepared for him, and he knew that his purpose was to come and die. He knew that. And now he's negotiating. Because the smell of the cup of the world's iniquity which he was going to drink, to become polluted, was so repugnant, so against everything that he thought He's willing to negotiate with God. Father, Abba, if you be willing, remove this cup from me. Make sure you understand that cup. Because you're going to drink a very bitter cup. A cup of trembling. A cup of shivering. A cup of fear. It's not a nice cup. When you put that to your lips, you will want to think twice. Oh God, should I go through? You see, you don't count the cost of Christianity. We flippantly come to church and play the game, but not so in Gethsemane. You settle seriously with God whether you're going to pay the price, count the cost, and move forward. Most people backslide right here in Gethsemane, and they walk out. Just like Peter. Walked out, turned his back, and rebelled and denied. And instantly he changed from if you be willing, remove this cup to nevertheless, 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 not my will, but thy will be done. 3 times he prayed the same prayer. And when he took the cup, and being in agony, he prayed most sincerely. And his sweat was as if it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Big sweat of blood. Not the ordinary salt and water sweat. Blood falling down to the ground. If you haven't been there, you will get there one day if you're serious with God. Stress will make that happen to you physically. Sometime last year, I was just finished taking a shower. My wife gave me a set of white towels. She takes blue and green. As I was drying myself, I looked at the towel, and it was red with blood. I examined myself to see if I have any cut and any bruise. There were none. I got so scared because it was the most stressful week I had. I went on the computer and began to search for answers. They explained that stress and stress alone can cause you skin to thin, and the pressure of the stress rush blood through your skin. And then I began to understand what happened to the Lord here. When the weight of sin, when he swallowed the cup and the stress of it came, his whole body rebelled against. This is where he became sin for us who knew no sin, and began to bleed. Child of God, listen to this old man. You will bleed when you get serious for God. Nobody will be a Christian without walking from Gethsemane to Calvary. It will never happen. You have to enter into what is called the fellowship of his suffering. You got to come in there, and it's a fellowship. It's not a one-night stand. You enter a season and a stage, and you have to pray according to the context that you're in. Here, no Our Father prayer is going to help you. No, give me this day our daily bread. That's for sure. It's going to happen. He's going to give you everything, but you're going to bleed. The prayers of blood, sweat, and prayer and tears are conforming prayer, where you conform to the will of God. Where you said, not my will, but thy will be done. Be careful how you say that. I warn you, with passion and with sincerity, do not pray flippantly. Because Christianity is so wasted down and diluted that the reality of Christ and cross has vanished from us. and appreciate this pulpit bringing you back to the cross and not just to the prosperity movement. Can I hear an amen if you understand what I'm saying? For we know not what we should pray for as we ought. And so Gethsemane requires a different kind of prayer. A prayer of absolute surrender, but you should understand what you're going to get into, because I'm going to show you what you're going to get into. Gethsemane will seek to change the plan of God, but with submission and obedience, you will understand the high cost of this prayer. Here, prayer settles forever the exchange of the human will for the divine. God will never let you surrender your will and then let you walk out and have your own way. No. You will pay dearly for it. To pray otherwise is useless, as I will show you now. The third phase, the non-performing prayer. Once you leave Gethsemane and you go to the cross, the next time you will pray is on the cross. This period is the non-performing prayer period. You ask as much as you want. No answer will come. And this is where the frustration comes. This is where you really get frustrated with God. You are in such deep trouble. Everything is falling apart. Nothing is going right. You are under this heavy load. Your back is bleeding. Your head is busting. You can't sleep. You're stressed out. You're frustrated. You're calling on God, and no answer is coming. And you're praying, and you're praying, and you're praying, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're hearing, and you're hearing, and nothing is happening. It's the valley. It's the uphill climb. Hear what Jesus said. Peter pulled off a sword and chopped off the ear of the high priest's servant. In this context, Jesus said unto him, put up your sword in its place, for all they that take the sword shall perish by the sword. Hear him. Peter, do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will immediately give me more than 12 legions or 72,000 all-powerful angels? You think I could pray? And ask my Father for help? Peter, you think I need your help? Sometimes we think we help, but we really hinder. And we really hurt the process of God. I have learned I was a very generous person. And I am still and will be. But now it's going to be prayerfully generous and carefully generous. Because what I had tried to do and didn't know, I was playing God in people's lives. There's a particular situation where this person would come to me every week and I'd give them 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. It didn't matter. Money was, take money. You need it. And God arrested me and said to me, you know what you're doing? You're working against me. How? I'm being good. You tell me to be kind. You said, if any man asks of you, give and don't bother. I said, but you're not discerning the situation. I have tried to trap this person through financial hardship. That's the only place I can trap him. And every time I trap him, you go and open the door. Okay. I had to learn that you have to do good with the permission of God, lest you try to help and you hurt instead. Peter tried to help, but he offended Jesus. He said, you offend me. You think if I wanted help, I would depend on your puny sword? One angel knocked out 185,000 Syrians in one night. One angel. 72,000 angels, 12 legions, 1 legion for every one of you disciples. My Father would send them right away. Hear me and hear me well. Jesus refused. This is the non-conforming side of prayer. He refused to pray for help. Why? Because he explained it in the next line. But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled. That this is how it's going to be. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what I prayed and settled in Gethsemane must be worked out into my life without hindrance. And what I did was begin to pray because I didn't understand. I couldn't. Nobody to teach me. I have no peers of mine who walk this walk and is alive to teach me. There was only one book I read other than the Bible that helped me. And I wish everybody buy one. It's $5 for it. It's called Streams in the Desert. Don't ever live without it. The one book that God spoke to me every day. That's the only place I found courage and help. Because it's a compendium of men and women who've been through Calvary. Daily devotions helped me to stand up and understand what I was going through. But as I was going through that, man, I prayed the prayer of prevention more than anything else. Please, Lord, don't. But you see, I didn't understand that he had to work out what I wrote down in blood in Gethsemane. Please, Lord, could you stop? Lord, I can't take anymore. He will not listen. Not that he's unsympathetic and unkind and brutal. It's the way of the cross. It's what the scripture says must come to pass in your life. And when you have nobody to instruct you, you think the devil is coming against you, and that is so. And you think life is coming against you, and that is so. And circumstances mounting upon you, and the load on your back is heavier and heavier. You wake up depressed. You rush for the night, and you're afraid to wake up in the morning. You don't want to see the day. I don't want to look at my phone. There's always 12 calls waiting for me before I wake up. Not one of them nice. But I didn't understand. I didn't understand that is the walk you have to walk, and that you must pay the price, and that there is no turning back. And no matter how much you say, take me off this altar, Lord, it's painful. I feel the fire of your wrath. I feel the purging fire burning in my soul. You will stay on that altar until you expire. Because to take you down from there now is doing injustice to you, because you will be half dead. And you will limp around. The longer you stay asking God to prevent things from you and deliver you from this and deliver you from that, the longer you stay until your submission is complete. And as you become like Jesus, as a sheep before his shearer is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. When you stop opening that mouth to God, that's the time you're ready for the nails. Ain't done yet. No. He's working submission into you. He's beating you with life until you bow and fall before God and say, okay, I give up, I can't. You will have to say, like Jesus said to Judas, go and do what you have to do, God, do it quickly. Yeah, you want to hustle that up. You don't want to stay there. It's going to get worse. You are going to get desperate. You will think God has forgotten you. You will pray. You're praying the wrong prayer. You're praying the prayer for deliverance. Wrong! In that context, you pray for grace and strength. You pray for endurance that you might make it through. Not get out. That's the prayer you pray. I want to get out. Oh, for the joy set before him. He endured the cross. It's something you must endure. You must put up with it. You must tolerate it. You cannot. The more you wring and twist, is the more pain you get. So you have to come to the place where, as a lamb before his shearer is dumb, so open he not his mouth. Let me explain what shearing does to the sheep and why it is necessary. I had my, which we're going to get soon to, I would show you how a shepherd shears the sheep. He has a broad knife about 4 inches and it's about this long. He holds it like this, and he holds, you see, every summer, beginning of summer, the sheep grows wool for the whole year. And the sheep looks this big and fat and heavy. And when the summer comes, in the goodness of the shepherd, if he doesn't shear the sheep or shave off that wool, the heat will kill that sheep. In love, the shepherd takes the shearing knife and begins to scrape, and scrapes out all the wool. Every piece is gone. This is what happens at this time. God will take away all your security. Not everybody I'm talking about. Those who are walking this walk. You who are still before Gethsemane, you ain't come in Gethsemane yet? Oh yeah, you got the wool. But that wool gonna kill you. Because it's not the nature of the sheep to keep it. It's the love of the shepherd to take it off. And so God will begin to strip you. One by one, he will take things away from you. You think God is bad to you. You're saying God is unfair. Why am I losing my house? Why am I losing my car? Why am I losing this? Why am I losing that? Why? Why are you taking everything away from me? It's temporary. Don't forget that. If he takes it away from you, he'll give it to you better, bigger. You will have more wisdom how to enjoy it. And so God has to share you because you're in the process. And only as you zip it and stop complaining will you be ready for the nails. Praying in the context of your suffering is, Lord, not Lord, deliver me. Not Lord, stop it. It won't stop. I'm telling you, it won't stop. You'll cry until your face is blue-black and nothing is going to change. It's just going to get worse. You are delaying the process. Zip it and say, Lord, like I prayed, have your way. Finish it quickly. And he'll bring you to the place of death. He'll bring you to the place where nails will have to come in. See, Via Dolorosa is not the context for deliverance. It's the context for grace to make it through. You must not pray to prevent the fulfilling of God's will in your life. You must now live out your prayer that you prayed in Gethsemane. Pray for grace. Let it happen. Just let it happen. Do not stop it. Don't prevent it. Don't try to shield. It's only going to get worse. He's going to hook you double on the other side. You run from this side, you're going to bounce up. You run from lion, you meet tiger, they say. All his family going to come. So we talk about the context pre-Gethsemane, where you ask, seek, and knock, and everything is wonderful. When you come in context of Gethsemane, your prayer changes. You're now going to conform to the will of God and ask God to make you more like Jesus and surrender to him here. Make sure you understand what you're doing, because the moment after you do that, a kiss is going to come on your cheek, a knife in your back, and you feel betrayed. Things going to start getting bad to worse. Everybody's going to leave you. You stand alone. You're going to have to carry this cross alone until you drop in weakness and you can't go any further. Angels may have to come and strengthen you. Simon from Cyrene may have to come and help you carry your cross. And walk that Calvary road. You can't pray the prayer that you want to pray and you have been praying. Change them prayers. God strengthen me. God give me the endurance. God help me to make it through. You know what Job is remembered for by James? For his endurance. He said, we remember Job. Remember the word? He said patience. It's not the right translation. Endurance. Remember the endurance of Job. We count them happy who have endured, for we have seen the end of the Lord, how he's good and a pitiful Father. And let me hustle through those last two. Transforming prayer. We have conforming prayer, non-performing prayer, transforming prayer, and then I'll come to reforming prayer and we're done. This is not praying in Gethsemane now. That's a different kind of prayer. Not praying on the Calvary Road. It's not praying for exemption and being taken out. It's praying to go through. And now he's on the cross. He's going to pray twice. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yeah, I'm going to tell you. Hear me carefully. Hear me. This is where you're going to be tested really hard. It is most difficult to be kind to others when the whole world is unkind to you. That's the cross. He's forgiving people who are hurting him, trashing him, scorning him, ridiculing him, railing against him, beating him, whipping him. And he's praying, Father, forgive me. See, the cross takes its aim and hits you where it hurts the most. Not that God is savage, but when the cross hits you the most, it's either to bring out the best or the worst. Two thieves, same situation. One thief will bring out bitterness, anger, and frustration. It will bring out the worst. The other, asking for mercy, humility, crying out, oh Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. The cross is going to hit you hard. It's going to bring out the best or the worst in you. It's going to spill the poison out of you. The acid, the attitude, the negativity, the hate. Everything inside of you. The purpose of those nails is to puncture them and let you bleed. So that the old man dies. The old nature expires. And you get ready for the greatest thing in your life. The next prayer on Calvary, he said, Father, why have you forsaken me? It is not weakness to cry out to God in your pain. Jesus did. Secondly, it's not being doubtful to ask him a question, where are you, God? Thirdly, it's not, I have to run, I'm just giving the points. It's not sinful to feel the absence of God's presence. Why have you forsaken me? Why I don't feel you anymore? Why you can't? Why you're not around when I need you the most? He's there. You are being processed. He can't take you out of the oven before that bell rings. He can't make you a half-cooked, half-baked cake. It's got to finish. You've got to hear it. Say, it is finished. And only when God is finished will you rise from the transforming prayer into the reforming side of prayer. Long story short, by so much Jesus made a surety of a better testament. There truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. They died and their priesthood terminated. But this man, Jesus, because he continues forever, has an unchangeable priesthood. Wherefore he's able to save them to the uttermost that come unto him by God, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for us. Transforming prayer now. Graduated from Calvary, he becomes our intercessor. You cannot truly intercede until you've gone through those 4 steps that I talked about. Now you're qualified. Why? You're qualified because now you enter an office as a priest, not saying a prayer as an act or an event. You're now qualified as a priest to enter into the holy. You join the royal priesthood. You've graduated. Take off your crown of thorns and put on a crown of glory upon you. Now from here you will begin to count the 5 benefits of Psalms 103. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Only now you could talk, after you come out of the grave and you feel the resurrection power. Now you can say these things. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that's crucified within me. Bless his holy name. Who forgives all your iniquities? Who heals? Oh, this is why your prayers haven't worked before, because now it's ready to work. Who heals all your diseases? You could never come to Calvary, walk up the resurrection life, and still have diseases. Who redeems thy life from ruin and destruction? Saved you, delivered you. Who exchanges the crown of thorns and crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies. It wasn't happening on the Calvary Road. You had a crown of thorns that pierced your head. You couldn't sleep. Your pillow turned every which way and you couldn't. Now he changes it for a crown of glory, loving kindness, and tender mercies. Now he fills your mouth with good things, like Corridocin, so that your youth, not your strength, your youth, you will look young again. You will act young again. You will feel young again. And gentlemen, with all respect to you, no Viagra necessary. Because he's renewed your youth. These things happen after. Let me wrap up here. It's been a little long, but I need to teach you this. You need to learn to pray like Jesus. You need to understand the 5 contexts of your life. The infant, the teenage, the young adult, the mature, and the wise. I showed you those 5 categories in the life of Jesus. How he prayed so effectively, all they wanted to know was teach us to pray. But those things taught pre-Gethsemane doesn't work in Gethsemane. When you come in Gethsemane, it's another type of praying. When you leave Gethsemane, you cannot pray for deliverance. It will never work. That's where you're going to get confused. You have to pray for grace to go through and strength to hold you up until you get to the nails. And when he nails you, then you forgive people. Oh my God. Then you wonder, where are you, God? Until you hear him say, it is finished. Then you graduate to the throne of glory to become an intercessor and a high priest for God. Praying in the context of life. Don't be discouraged when good prayer fails, because there's a right line of prayer for the right time of care. Did you by any chance understand what I said? Thank you.